Imagine you are at a garage sale on a Saturday morning in Minnesota. You're not looking for anything in particular. You pick up a painting of a fisherman, thick with oil paint, leaning against a box of old kitchen tools. You pay $50, you take it home. Years later, a New York art research firm releases a 4-year study. Their conclusion? Your $50 painting is a lost work by Vincent van Gogh. They say, if they are right, it could be worth $15 million. Now, this part is disputed. The Van Gogh Museum has rejected the claim twice. Other experts believe it was painted by a lesser-known Danish artist. The argument is still going on. But here is what nobody disputes. Somebody bought that painting at a garage sale for $50. And later in this video, we are going to look at a thin piece of cardboard that sold for over $7 million. Here is the question that follows from all of this. What is sitting in your house right now that you have never once stopped to look at? In 1943, the United States Mint was at war. Copper was needed for shell casings and wiring, not for pennies. So the Mint made that year's Lincoln cent out of zinc-coated steel. Except a small number of copper planchets, the metal discs left over from 1942 accidentally made it into the presses. The result? A handful of 1943 pennies struck in copper instead of steel. Nobody knows exactly how many exist. The estimates are around 20 to 40. One sold at auction in 2021 for over $840,000. Another, a 1943 D bronze cent from the Denver Mint, the only one known to exist, sold for $1.7 million. The coin looks almost identical to the steel version. It is a penny. Face value, 1 cent. Most people who find one have no idea what they are holding until they test it with a magnet. Steel sticks, copper does not. That is a 10-second test. The difference can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here is the thing about this penny. Nobody at the Mint announced that a few copper planchets got through. These coins did not come with a certificate. They did not arrive in a special case. They went into circulation like every other penny, into cash registers, into pockets, into change jars, into the bottom of purses, where some of them, almost certainly, still sit. In 1996, Nintendo released Super Mario 64. Millions of copies were sold. Millions of children tore them open and played them for years. But a small number of copies were bought and, for whatever reason, never opened, not once. The factory plastic stayed on. The box was never crushed. Somebody simply never played it. 25 years later, in 2021, one of those sealed copies sold at heritage auctions in Dallas, Texas, for $1.56 million. The game itself was not rare. Tens of millions were made. What made this one copy worth a fortune was that it had survived, untouched, in near perfect condition, when almost everyone else had opened theirs. But the next example might be even more painful, because almost everyone watching this had one. The original iPhone. Released in June of 2007. 4 gigabytes of storage. A 2-megapixel camera. No app store. It retailed for $499. Most of these phones were opened immediately, activated, used, dropped, traded in for an upgrade, and eventually recycled. But a small number of people bought one, and, for reasons they could not have known, were worth anything at the time, simply never opened the box. In July of 2023, a factory-sealed 4-gigabyte original iPhone sold at auction for over $190,000, nearly 400 times its original price. One owner, one box, one decision to not throw something away. In 1909, the American Tobacco Company inserted baseball cards into packs of cigarettes. One of those cards featured Honus Wagner, a shortstop for the Pittsburgh Pirates and one of the greatest players of his era. Wagner, for reasons still debated, either did not want his image associated with cigarettes or wanted to be paid for the use of his likeness. He demanded his card be pulled from production. Fewer than 60 are known to exist today. In August of 2022, one sold in a private sale for $7.25 million, a thin piece of cardboard, distributed for free in a cigarette pack, worth more than most people will earn in a lifetime. The inverted Jenny stamp takes this even further because the valuable thing was not just rare, it was a mistake. In 1918, the United States Post Office rushed to print a stamp celebrating the new airmail service. The design featured a Curtiss biplane, nicknamed the Jenny. The stamp required 2 passes through the printing press, one for the red border and one for the blue airplane. During production, one sheet of 100 stamps was fed in upside down. The plane was inverted, the border was correct, the image was wrong, the mistake was caught, the sheet was supposed to be destroyed. It was not. In November of 2023, a single inverted Jenny stamp sold at auction in New York for $2 million. A stamp, face value, 24 cents. A printing error nobody was supposed to see, but not every story ends with a fortune, and the next story is not about what someone found. It is about what millions of people were told to find, and never did. In the mid-1990s, Beanie Babies became the most speculated upon toy in American history. Ty Warner, the creator, engineered artificial scarcity. He retired specific designs without warning, creating a sense of urgency. He limited production runs. He encouraged the narrative that the small stuffed animals were investments, not toys. Adults lined up outside gift shops before opening hours. Price guides were published and sold like textbooks. Television segments warned that anyone who did not buy Beanie Babies was missing the investment of a lifetime. Some people spent their entire paychecks. Some went much deeper than that. At the peak, Beanie Babies accounted for around 10% of all sales on eBay. In 1999, Warner announced he was retiring the entire line. Collectors assumed scarcity would send prices into the stratosphere. The opposite happened. Without new releases to drive foot traffic, retailers lost interest. The speculative demand that had inflated prices was the only thing holding them up. When the speculators stopped buying, there was nobody left. Beanie Babies that had sold for hundreds of dollars were suddenly being dumped at garage sales for $1 each, or less. Today, the vast majority of Beanie Babies are worth almost nothing. The Peace Bear, the Princess Diana bear, the bears people were convinced would pay for their children's college education. Most sell for between $5 and $50. Only the rarest early manufacturing errors and first-generation tag variations carry any real value, and even those sell for a fraction of what people once believed. Here is the dark irony. The things people were told to hoard are largely worthless. The things nobody told them to save, a video game they forgot to open, a penny from a year nobody noticed, a phone they never activated, are the things worth fortunes. Here is what every one of these stories is actually about. Value is rarely announced. It does not come with a price guide, a newspaper headline, or a neighbor's advice. The things that end up being truly valuable are often the things nobody was paying attention to, and the things people were paying attention to, the things the culture told them were valuable, The Beanie Babies, the hype investments, the get-rich-quick collectibles, those are the things that went to zero. Think about how many things you own that you have never once examined. Then go further than possessions. How many skills do you have that you were told were not practical, not marketable, not worth developing? How many relationships did you let atrophy because nobody around you seemed to value them? How many opportunities did you dismiss as ordinary simply because nobody else was looking either? The collector who pulled that painting out of a box at a garage sale did not know what it was. Maybe it is a Van Gogh. Maybe it is not. Either way, they were paying attention to something nobody else at that sale bothered to pick up. The difference between the person who finds a fortune and the person who spends one without noticing is not knowledge, it is attention. Most people walk past the thing they are looking for every single day and never notice it because nobody told them it was worth noticing. The people who find it are the ones who stop needing to be told. Money is a tool. It is not an identity. But attention is the edge. And it always has been. So here's the question. When was the last time you walked through your own house, your own life, and actually looked at what was already there? Not what someone told you was valuable. Not what the price guy said. But what was actually in front of you. Go check your change jar tonight for a 1943 copper penny. Check your old video game boxes for the cartridge you never opened. Check the art you inherited and never thought about. Check the phone you kept in a drawer for no reason. Subscribe to Money Fails. Real stories, real mistakes, real lessons. Because the most expensive thing you own might not be the thing you paid the most for. See you in the next one.